Now, Brazil's president has issued a pretty interesting warning to South Africa. If countries don't take their defense seriously, one day someone might try to invade them. Now, that comment came this week during President Ramaphosa's state visit to Brazil, where President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva urged the two countries to strengthen military cooperation. And his point was pretty simple. The world is becoming more unpredictable, and countries that neglect their defense capabilities could eventually find themselves exposed. Now, Lula suggested that South Africa, Brazil, and other countries in the global south should start working more closely together on defense cooperation rather than constantly buying military equipment from foreign suppliers. Ramaphosa responded, acknowledging that Brazil's defense capabilities are currently more advanced than South Africa, but said that there's still plenty of room for the two countries to learn from each other and develop partnerships. Now, critics also point out that Brazil has a sizable defense industry on its own, so that it's pretty convenient that deeper cooperation would certainly be good business for them too. Now look, the timing of this statement from Lula was pretty spot on. You see, around the world, defense has become a pretty hot topic over the past few years. The war in Ukraine is still dragging on, tensions in the Middle East remain high, and many governments are quietly increasing their military budgets in response. In other words, defense and security are back near the top of the global political agenda. Now, South Africa has generally taken a slightly different approach. You see, the country has traditionally focused more on diplomacy and peacekeeping missions on the continent rather than building up a large military force. But defense analysts have warned for years that the South African National Defense Force is increasingly underfunded, mismanaged, and stretched across these unnecessary foreign deployments. Now, supporters say that failing to reinvest in defense would leave the country vulnerable in an uncertain world, while critics argue that South Africa's limited resources are better spent elsewhere. Either way, regardless of Lula's underlying motives here, the warning has reignited a broader question here. In a world that feels unstable, how much national defense is enough? So South Africa's upcoming local elections may already be getting out of hand. You see, the Electoral Commission says that there are now 508 registered political parties in the country, a record number. And while South Africa prides itself on being this multi-party democracy, the IEC says that such a crowded field could actually make the ballot paper so long that voters struggle to find the party that they're actually looking for. Now, that surge in parties has happened fairly quickly, and of all of them, 299 are registered nationally, while the rest operate at a provincial or municipal level. And because every registered party has the right to contest elections, they all potentially appear on the ballots, and we've seen the impact of this before. If you recall, during the 2024 national elections, South Africa actually had to introduce 3 separate ballot sheets just to accommodate the number of candidates. Now, the IEC says that the concern here isn't the number of parties. That's part of democracy. The concern here is what happens when that ballot becomes overwhelming. You see, officials say that some voters already struggle to identify their party of choice on these long ballot papers, which can lead to miscast votes, spoiled ballots, and people simply just giving up. I mean, some of us can barely find a specific conversation in our own WhatsApp chats. Now, imagine trying to find your own party on a ballot with more than 500 of them. The numbers are in. South Africa's economy grew by 1.1% last year. Now, that technically counts as progress, but it's extremely slow. You see, for most developing economies, they want to aim closer to between 3 and 5% growth if they want to meaningfully create jobs and lift incomes. So while 1.1% means the economy didn't shrink, it's the kind of growth that economists often describe as barely moving the needle. So to understand why that matters, it helps to unpack what GDP actually is. So GDP, or gross domestic product, is the total value of everything produced in the economy over a year. Every product sold, service delivered, restaurant meal, and financial transaction adds up to that number. And so when GDP grows, businesses usually produce more, people spend more, and companies invest more. So last year, much of South Africa's growth reportedly came from finance, agriculture, and retail. But some economists say that agriculture's unusually strong growth may have boosted that overall number, with a few questions raised about how that data was measured. But so here's the tension. When growth is this slow, most people won't really feel the difference. Job creation stays limited, wages stagnate, and government debt rises faster than the economy grows. which is why economists say that South Africa isn't in a recession. It's just stuck in this low growth economy that struggles to build real momentum. And before we cruise on to our bagel bite of the day, here's a couple other headlines worth knowing. For starters, South African motorists could be facing a serious fuel shock in April. Early estimates suggest petrol could rise by more than 3 Rand a litre and diesel by nearly 6 Rand if oil prices stay elevated after tensions around the Strait of Hormuz. Now, status and Prosus surged on the JSE after Chinese tech giant Tencent launched a new AI workplace assistant called WorkBuddy. The move pushed Tencent's shares higher in Hong Kong, adding roughly 208 billion Rand to the two companies' combined market value. And applying for a smart ID could soon get a lot easier. You see, Home Affairs has launched a digital partnership with Capitec and Standard Bank, allowing customers at 17 branches to apply for ID cards in about 5 to 10 minutes. And on to our bagel bite of the day. But first, just a side note, if you're enjoying the show, make my day and hit that like and subscribe button, please. It's the only way we grow. And now, with that out the way, let's see what you got. The question is, which is the tallest species of grass in the world? Is it A, bamboo, B, sugarcane, or C, reed grass? We'll give you the answer at the end of the show. So get a load of this. On a hillside in Mpumalanga sits something that looks almost too perfect to be an accident. A giant human-shaped footprint pressed into solid rock. It's about 1.2 meters long with a clear heel, arch, and toe outline. Photos of it have circulated online for years, and at first glance, you can see why many people think it's real. I mean, based on a standard foot to height ratio, the owner of this one would have stood around 7 meters tall. Now, the other detail that makes this site so strange is where the footprint sits. It's not on the ground like some fossilized step in mud. It's embedded vertically in a granite cliff face. Now, that odd sizing and positioning has fueled all kinds of theories. Ancient giants, lost civilizations, even biblical figures. And so to believers, the shape looks far too precise to be random. Geologists, however, say that the explanation is far less mysterious. You see, over millions of years, erosion can wear away softer sections of granite while harder rock remains, leaving shapes that look surprisingly deliberate. Add tectonic movement, which could tilt rock layers upward, and you end up with what scientists say is simply a natural erosion pattern that happens to resemble a footprint. So yes, scientifically it's erosion, but I'm going to go with the giant version. That makes for a better story. And as for that bagel bite, the answer is bamboo. You see, while most people think of it as a wood, including myself, botanically it is actually a grass, and the tallest species can grow more than 30 meters high. And my friends, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day further. Remember, be kind to one another, and we'll catch you all tomorrow for the next round of the good stuff. God bless.